I'm curious, I've always liked this quote. It was attributed to Yale law professor Grant Gilmore, who at the end of a lecture he gave on Ages of American Law said that in heaven there will be no law.
My favorite quote.
Don't you like that?
Yes.
Let me share it with you all. In heaven there will be no law,
and the lion
will lie down with the lamb. And in hell
there will be nothing but law. And due process will be rigorously observed.
Yeah. So do you want to expand on that? You want to add some gloss to Gilmore?
Well, it's a reality that those institutions that we care most about, family, church, are destroyed by the law. When the law enters in, it destroys them. And all religions have this notion that at the end, the laws will be eliminated. You'll be freed from the law. No, the law is as Madison put it, a concession to the weakness of human nature. If men were angels, we would need no laws. I don't go around celebrating the need for a lot of laws, but no, that's a great line by Grant.
So one of the things we should derive from that, I suppose, would be that we should shape our laws to create spaces for these non-legal institutions to affect our lives and shape our society? Would that be fair to say?
I think that's right. I think we should be very careful about the laws intruding into those sorts of institutions, which I think we have been. I think we don't allow the law to get into family matters too much unless the child's being physically abused.
All right. Thank you for joining us back here on Just Conspiracy. Brothers and sisters, people of faith, people who know the Creator and talk to him or her, we are losing. And I must apologize if you're not getting all dressed up. I'm looking good in my suit. I haven't been getting a lot of sleep lately. And if you wish to have any type of future for yourself or your children, I implore you to watch this with somebody. Sit down with them and watch it. And this is going to be really long. I apologize about that, really do. But what happened today is insane. And if you don't start calling to the Supreme Court of Tennessee and asking about Phillip Kemp and why they are so lawless, and if they're going to do anything about the judicial officers that break law that they appointed, it's over. It's done. And I promised my mom that I would be calm for this, so I'm going to try and be as calm as I can. And breathe. Phillip Kemp has been getting arrested over and over and over again. I know he's going to write a writ of restore freedom because he doesn't speak Latin, but in Latin it would be habeas corpus. If you study legalese, it would be habeas corpus. I don't speak Latin. That's not my native language. So I would just call it have body, because see, back in, I think it was like 1363 or something in England, what happened was all of the people in the villages around Well, the royalty, the civil law people from mainland Europe would come up and impose their law, and they would speak French or Latin, and they would just take their stuff in court, and nobody knew what they were saying, so they started killing them. Chopping off heads, putting them on pikes in front of the town. And that was such a problem for government officials that Parliament created the Pleadings in English Act, which means that you have to understand the court, and the court has to understand you. Most importantly, the court has to understand you, and the court has to speak your language. I knew a Russian woman. Court took her child with a process that was completely unlawful. She put all of her paperwork in Russian. Had a translator for court. I know what I'm talking about, because I've been doing this for a really long time. And the reason why I kind of quit working with people one-on-one for the most part, and now I just work with a few people that have extraordinary circumstances, is because if we don't all get this, we're dead. We're dead. We're already in the ground. The way the entire system is set up is for us to be dead. In fact, they're administrating our dead civil bodies. And I know that a lot of people probably think that this is crazy, it's insane, but please just hear me out. I'm going to show you a man who just got arrested for 30 days and put in jail because he wrote his children notes telling him that he loved them and he's proud of them. And he took him some food right after he got out of jail for getting arrested for 3 counts of custodial interference when it was actually his parenting time. So, without further ado, let's just jump right into it.
Oh, yeah. There's no organization, so when you get there, it's like chaos. I try to eliminate the chaos. You ready to go?
Yeah, I guess so.
Take my hat off, I guess. I'll wait till they tell me.
Hey, Taylor. How you doing?
Pretty good, you know.
Hey, LT. Good, man.
You see how court he is and upbeat he's being with everybody? These cops who keep arresting him over and over again. Hey man, how you doing? Doing good? Me too. No problem here. No fight. I ain't fighting y'all. Cause I love my creator.
Hey, how are you, Miss Todd?
Creator love me.
No, ma'am.
No ma'am. Pretty polite. Because you gotta have manners to be a man. A man got manners.
Is Miss Lawson gonna be here today?
I don't know.
Could I pardon you for some water, por favor? Thank you.
Can I please get some water, some agua, some life energy? I appreciate you. Thank you. Now, I'm going to tell you before you get the wrong impression of this man. He's going to be a little rude to this female who's about to speak to somebody in the audience. Like, maybe they shouldn't be there, or they should tell her, or I don't know. But he's going to be a little rude to her. I'm not saying this man's perfect. Who is? Who is?
You don't have to answer nothing to her. She can't ask you no questions.
Sir,
You don't have to answer nothing.
if you're going to give testimony, then I'm going to ask for the rule.
You don't have no authority, Suzanne.
But
Go back up to your podium.
if you're not a witness, then it's no problem.
You have no authority to tell him anything. The judge addresses that. Who you think you are?
Anyway, sir, if you're not going to be a witness in this hearing, there's no problem with you sitting in the courtroom.
He can do what he wants to. He's a man. This is a free country.
You know, I kind of remember a very American Russia
I am, Your Honor,
saying
and there
that.
is one
Free
person
country.
in the courtroom that explained if he's going to be a witness, we need to ask for the rule. But Mr. Kemp has instructed him not to identify whether he's a witness or not. So I'm going to ask for the rule now and ask you to verify whether or not he intends to be a witness in this proceeding.
Okay, I don't need to ask him anything, but if there's anybody who's going to be a witness and testify in this hearing besides Mr. and Mrs. Kemp, you need to wait in the hall. If you're not going to testify, you're more than welcome to stay in here. Okay, so Ms. Cook?
Yes, thank you.
Who's going to be your first witness?
I'm calling Amanda Shepard.
I beg your pardon, sir. I require an opening statement.
Okay, Ms. Shepard, you can come on up to the stand.
Now, I really wish for you to take note of this because it's going to come up in a video and a story that I'm going to do that I was actually planning on doing today until this happened. But in this other story, this woman tries to exercise her right to an opening statement and the judge won't let her. Or the man impersonating a judicial officer will not let her, probably better to say. And another thing I wish for you to pay attention to is the fact that she's asking if this guy's a witness. Well, let me tell you something. You gotta hand over a witness list before the trial. Otherwise, it's a trial by ambush. If that guy would have said that he was there to testify, she could have said, well, I don't know what he's gonna testify about, and I don't even know who he is. He never gave me any notice. I wish for you not to allow him to testify. Pretty valid. Pretty valid. I don't know if he just got this guy right off the street and they're just making the whole thing up. That's why you have it like that. Anyways, let's get back. I just wish for you to notice that the judge immediately respected his right to make an opening statement, and Phillip Kemp should have had a witness list if he was going to have any witnesses. Let's hear what he has to say.
Make a brief opening then.
No, ma'am, there's no need to. If you'll have to seat for a second, Ms. Cook, let me see what I can do for Mr. Kemp.
And we asked Mr. Kemp to be recording again today.
Okay, all right.
This is a declaration. I am man, Phillip Aaron Kemp, who say and state under penalty of perjury, I, go by Phil, am present at court in the form of man, who appear in court of law, not state. I do not understand Suzanne Cook documents concerning money, something about jail time. I understand Suzanne Cooks wants to take offspring of I because I take them camping and I send them love notes at their school. That's kind of what I comprehend. I will state that Don Ash verified at last court appearance that I caused no harm and tried to convince I that I harm myself, when in fact it is the people interacting with I who cause true and verifiable harm to I with no cause. I affirm there is continued harm, injury, and loss done by third-party interlopers to I. Hence, incarceration of certain dates, April 28th, May 5th, March 13th, June 1st of 2021. Now, I did pay the extortion and ransom monies to get out of the lockbox in excess of $7,500. Don Ash never verified his orders are true and lawful orders, and orders that are not true and lawful are trespass on my right. If any man or woman who participate in the execution of unlawful orders become trespassers in law, persons by the very action of inaction. I have no intent to be contemptuous. There is no controversy, for I am willing to settle all matter of law as soon as one appears outside my verified statements. I have sacred trust with Yahweh, the God Almighty, sovereign over all things, to raise offspring in admonition of the Lord. I wish no man or woman to trespass upon sacred trust. I require Suzanne Cook bond be attached to record so I may execute after damage are calculated and verify. Need this placed upon the record.
Okay, so Madam Clerk, if you'll mark that as Exhibit 1 for me, please.
All right, let me explain a few things here for you about what's going on, because I've been doing this a long time. See, he goes in there and he says, a man who appears in court of law, not the state. See, a man or a woman cannot appear in a state court. That's why they tell you gotta come in person, in your persona, in your fiction. Because man and woman appear in a court of law because they're real, and law is real, okay? Now, the courts that the legislatures create, they're fictions, and they're administrative. They're administrative fictions. And they're there because, well, the court has to have administration. And the government has to have administration. The government needs to administrate their own officers. Yeah, that's kind of how it works. See, this is why there's the whole separation of powers. Yeah, that's what I think. But here's the problem, is that the legislative, the executive, and the judicial branch are now all in this together, and there's no law. They're just doing whatever they wish to do. And if you don't put a stop to it right now, they're going to do it to you. They will, okay? Now, what does he say after he's a man and he appears in a court of law, not state? He says, hey, I don't know what her paperwork is. I don't understand her paperwork, her legalese, speaking in code. You know, you have to be bar certified to be qualified to understand any of that stuff. For sure. For sure. He just wishes to raise his children the way God tells him to be righteous man and woman. That's why he's taking them camping, telling him he loves them. And that is the reason they're in court today, is because he took his kids camping and he told them he loved them. He doesn't wish to be contemptuous. He doesn't have a problem. Okay? See, he got arrested a bunch of times. He had to pay a whole lot of money. And even Don Ash is the judicial officer, the the man impersonating a judicial officer appointed by the Supreme Court of Tennessee. Okay? Which means it goes all the way to the top. It goes all the way to the top. The last court date they had, Don Ash said, "You're not hurting anybody but yourself." I made a video about it a couple videos back. Go check it out. But if he's not hurting anybody but himself, that doesn't work. Because they're throwing him in jail and locking him up and making him pay a whole bunch of money without a cause because he didn't cause anybody any harm, injury, or loss. He just doesn't wish to be their slave. And have them tell him how much he has to pay, when he can and can't see his children, you know, what he can and can't say on Facebook, how he can't show you what the courts are actually like. This man went over to Iraq to fight for your freedom, and he's fighting for your freedom now. And if you're a veteran, you should get this out to all the other vets, because your brother is bleeding on the battlefield. He's bleeding on the battlefield. And if we, the people, don't make a really, really big noise about it, the government's going to know. Nobody cares. And if you wait to make a really big noise about it until this is happening to you or shows up on your doorstep, there's not going to be any of us left to help you. There won't be.
Anything else, Mr. Kemp?
Is this a court of law?
Yes, sir.
Under due process of law?
Yes, sir.
1 second then. So if this is a court of law and it does move under due process of law, I wish the bailiff to serve Ms. Suzanne Cook my common law action of bartry, which I require immediate response to.
Oh, so we're not doing that today?
Yes, sir. If this is a court of law, I have an act common law suit. We can't move forward until this.
Not your call. I'm in charge, and we're not doing that today.
Sir, you.
All right. He just said, "I'm in charge and we're not doing that today." You see, here's the thing about that is that the whole idea of America is that we are a nation ruled by law and not men. Okay? And this is what the 7th Amendment to the United States Constitution is all about. It's about you have the right to have an act common law action. Which means if somebody causes you any type of harm, injury, or loss, you have the right to go into a court and verify what they did to you, have them served, okay, and then have them answer immediately. You want to know why they have to answer immediately in law? Is because the only reason you would need 30 days to answer is if you were just going to make some stuff up. And if you're just going to make some stuff up, well, you can think about the stuff you're going to make up while we pull in the jury. Because there are no judges at common law. At common law, there are only juries. Made a video about that. It's called Why a Judge Can't Judge You. Which means he's not getting any due process because he's trying to drop a lawsuit on her for bartry, which means she keeps bringing vexatious litigation against him. She keeps using the court to cause him harm, injury, and loss for her own financial gain when he hasn't done anything wrong. And it wasn't even a month ago that they had a false claim thrown out of court. That he got arrested on that too. Okay? Just think about that. Just think about that. And if he could have served the bar entry suit, they couldn't move forward. There'd be a conflict of interest, a huge one. But because we're not ruled by law anymore, we're ruled by men, he just told you, I'm in charge. You can't do that. See, a judge isn't in charge. A judge, the law is in charge. That's the way it's supposed to work.
You just said this is a court of law.
Do you have anything else, Mr. Kemp?
Is this a court of law that operates under due process of law?
Yes, sir. It is.
It is. And I have a common law suit of barratry.
Right. Well, if you'll read the rules of civil procedure in Tennessee, it tells you how to properly file a complaint, but you have every right to do that, but you don't do it in here.
Well, the Tennessee rules of civil procedure don't apply in a court of law. I don't consent to the administrative process, so Tennessee rules of civil procedure don't apply. So I require this action at common law to be served upon Suzanne Cook for barratry.
No, so we're not going to do that. So do you have anything else before Ms. Cook asks her questions to Ms. Shepard?
Yes.
Okay.
If this is a common law court, or excuse me, if this is a court of law, and it does move under due process of law, I require this action case of barratry be answered immediately. And anybody that moves unlawfully is a trespasser of law. Do you understand?
Oh, I understand what you're saying, but you're completely incorrect, and I'm not following your suggestion.
Does the Tennessee Rules of Procedure apply in court of law under due process of law?
They do.
Let me say it a couple times. So you're saying that under due process of law in a common law court, that the rules of civil procedure apply?
Yes, correct.
So in a common law court, a court of law, under due process of law, the Tennessee Rules of Civil Procedure, which is administrative, correct, apply?
They're the rules of procedure, so they apply.
They apply to a court of law.
They do.
Let it note for the record. We can't move forward until this action, this case of barratry, is handled, and it needs to be handled immediately. I have 3 copies.
No, sir. We're not going to do that today.
Well, then this isn't a court of law.
Okay. Anything else?
Did you hear that? He said, then this isn't a court of law. And he said, okay, yep, it's not a court of law. And when he was saying, do you understand what I'm talking about common law? He said, yeah, I understand. I mean, this man, Don Ash, was appointed by the Supreme Court of Tennessee. Of course he understands. Let me help you out a little bit. Okay? Cause I got some things pulled up. Okay, so this is from the 1800s. Tennessee, cause I always mess with states in their own history. This is where courts proceed in the exercise of a special jurisdiction created by statute and not a jurisdiction properly belonging to them as courts of record, proceeding according to the course of the common law. You mean anything that's created by statute is in a special jurisdiction? That's, not a jurisdiction properly belonging to them as courts of record, proceeding according to the course of common law. So, when you're in a court that moves under statutes, then that's not common law. Now, why is this important? Why is this right to common law so important? Well, it's really important because about 98% or 99% of society are not attorneys. Okay? And court is a place where you solve controversies. So, the course of common law has to be really simple for the common man to be able to execute it, to be able to go down and say what went wrong, and then have an answer, then get a jury if there's any controversy of facts. Because that's about as simple as common law can get. Is I go down to the courthouse and I say, well, Bob punched me in the face on Friday. I wish to swear out a warrant. And if he didn't punch me in the face on Friday and I'm a liar and I get proven to be a liar, then I can never testify in a court again. Basically, taking away my right to access a court. Which is what they did to freed black men. In fact, the entire reason why we can't access a court anymore is because they were trying to keep colored people from accessing a court. And they still gave white people courts of law, so nobody really threw that much of a fuss about it. But let's not talk about that too much, you know? And every state says you have the right to access the court if somebody does any damage, harm, injury to your property, reputation, persons, and you have the right to immediate redress, to justice, without sell or delay. And he said it's a court of law, and then he just denied that immediately. It can't be a court of law. It just can't. And that's what he was establishing for the record. That's what he was establishing. And he verified everything he said. He verified. He said it under the penalty of perjury. That's verified. Okay? Back in the old days, they call it viva voce, the living voice. Because living things have rights that fictitious corporations and fictitious government entities do not have. Because, well, we're real.
I require a bond be attached. I just want to let the deputies know that if it's not a verified complaint and you trespass upon my rights, then there are repercussions for that. The orders that are on the record are not verified. They're unenforceable.
Thank you, Mr. Kemp.
Just to let you know. And I have a notice here. Well, I can get to that if somebody does decide to trespass upon my right.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, Ms. Cook, your turn to ask some questions.
See, Don Harsh didn't say, no, actually they are verified. Actually they are lawful. Actually they are good and legit. He said, nope, thank you. Yeah, they're not verified. Nobody argues the fact that they're not verified. So, let's just go back over here. Oh, here's a really good one. I didn't bring this up. So, but this is from the late 1800s when they were starting to really codify and switch over from having common law to just having administrative statutes, but they still had to offer people the common law because too many people still knew what the law was for them to take it away. Because, well, if Don Ash would have done this to somebody, to a man or a woman, 150 years ago, you want to know what would have happened? The entire town would have gotten together and hung him before the sun went down. Yep. Because if he could do it to just anybody, he could do it to them. And that's not cool. Okay, so right here it's talking about form and allegations in general. Because, see, Kemp actually had an accusation. Now, you always hear this, allegations, like in the news, allegedly they were murdered, allegedly this happened, allegedly that happened. See, there's a difference between an allegation and an accusation, okay? And this is why, like, in the Fifth Amendment, I believe it's the Fifth Amendment to the Bill of Rights, it says that you have the right to face your accuser. It doesn't say you have the right to face your alleger, alright? Because an accusation is a sworn statement of fact accusing someone of some type of wrongdoing. An accusation from a man or a woman is as powerful as a grand jury indictment. Now, an allegation, well, that's just something people are saying. You know, it may or may not be true. It's just allegedly it happened. An allegation is just alleging that somebody might be pretending to allege something about something somewhere sometime. So they were already starting to change the language. So, but it has statutory provisions. Under Shannon's Code 4338, I don't know what that means, parties have a right to plead as at common law, and when so pleading, their rights under the issues made up are preserved as at common law. Well, what was this saying? What is that saying right there? What it's saying is that even though there are statutes right now, it's okay, don't worry. Don't get too upset that we're taking away the law, because we're still going to give you the right to plead at common law. And when you start off at common law, you got to stay in common law because, well, you're in a common law jurisdiction. That's what that just said. Now, matters of facts or conclusions. I like this right here because my man Kemp right there, he made a declaration upon the record. And it says, declarations must be specific as to facts. It is not sufficient to state conclusions, nor to use adjectives and adverbs only. Because he kept to the facts really, really well. He declared who he was. He declared what his interpretation of Suzanne's paperwork and actions are. And he declared how he wishes to raise his children and that he hasn't caused anybody any harm, which is what the judge said last time. They're all facts. There are no, like, hey, I believe she's saying a bunch of stuff to my children that isn't true. She's a bad parent. Blah, 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 blah. He didn't say nothing like that. He didn't make any presumptions about the other side. Didn't argue about them at all, except for the woman causing him harm. All right. Here's the part I was looking for. pursuant to statutory institutions in cases where a writ of error will not lie, as it will not where those exercising power are not constituted courts of record, or being so constituted, do not follow the common law forms of procedure. So, there's something called a writ of error. And what a writ of error is it's basically when the court gangs up on you and they just completely make unlawful orders or judgments, and everybody's in on it, the sheriff, the clerk, everybody. And because everybody used to just kind of know the law, because it's kind of like logic or logos, you could just write a writ of error and explain the error in the law, and you could stop whatever they were going to execute against you. Can't do that anymore. Not with statutes. Not with these statutory instruments. Not with these statues the state wants us to worship. Breaking my man and them's first commandment, not amendment. Oops.
I don't really see Ms. Shepherd yet. Maybe there she is.
She's in the witness box, Your Honor.
So I guess we're going to determine. There she is. And Ms. Shepherd, if you'll speak up, please, that would assist me. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Cook.
I don't know if she's been sworn in or not.
Oh, she has. You're exactly right. Ma'am, if you'll raise your right hand, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So we got.
And Your Honor, before I question her, I believe Mr. Kemp does.
See, the judge was just about ready to let her, no, just go, you don't need to swear in. The attorney had to remind the judicial officer to swear in the witness.
Mr. Kemp, I'll ask you again that if you are in fact recording these proceedings, that's improper because we have a court order. So if you'll turn that recording on, I'll certainly appreciate that.
See, it's improper because they have a court order, but he's not ordering him to turn off the recording. He's just like, well, I would appreciate it if you did.
Can you speak up, Ms. Shepherd?
So she's gonna have to go over and stand next to the microphone because they're doing this by Zoom in an actual court, because
I had her stand
Don lives in Nashville and this is in East Tennessee because he was, again, appointed by the Supreme Court of Tennessee.
Now, I think I'm here on really two motions. One's an emergency motion that you filed two supplements to, and the other is a civil contempt motion because Mr. Kemp allegedly has not paid his junior child support.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, Your Honor. And then today, Mr. Kemp posted on Facebook, which we also filed quickly this afternoon.
I saw him.
Okay. All right. State your name for the record, please. Amanda Leanne Shepherd. All right. So, Ms. Shepherd, on Sunday, May 30th, 2021, were the children supposed to be returned to you under the court's current order? Yes, that's right. And the current order is that Mr. Kemp has parenting time every other Saturday and Sunday from 9 to 5 each day without the overnight. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. Did you become aware that he was not going to return the children to you? Yes. Tell the court about that.
He sent a message over OFW, our family wizard, and said that he was offering me time with the kids Wednesday afternoon of this week, which was, 2 days ago, and then he would be dropping them back off to me today. He said Friday around 6 or 7. Is that okay? And I responded back and I said, the parenting plan has not reverted back, and you are to still drop the kids back off to me at 5 p.m.
Just a little detour here. Have you completed the 16-hour parenting?
All right, well, let me just get to this, okay? Now, she just testified that yes, he told me what they were doing. He offered me time to see the children on Wednesday, which obviously he thought was his time, but he was going to give her some time in case she wishes to see her little man, woman, train. And you just then bring them back on Friday. So obviously, Kemp is under the impression that he has the right to have his children. Obviously. Okay?
Class, yes. And that certificate has been submitted to the court, hasn't it? Yes. All right. Your Honor, I would note for the record, we sent that in some time ago, demonstrating her completion. Did you, when you informed Mr. Kemp that...
See, she demonstrated that she would do whatever the court asked her to do, and that she'll act like a good slave.
Thereafter, on Sunday afternoon, did you try to reach him to find out where he was? Sunday afternoon, I did not. Well, maybe I was back after 5 o'clock when he did not return the kids. Yes. Right. On Monday, were you trying to reach out to him to find out where he was with the children?
Did you go to the sheriff's department on Sunday? Yes. To file a report that he had not returned to the children? Yes. And then Monday was Memorial Day, wasn't it? Correct. Of course, well closed. Correct. My office was closed. Correct. And then on Tuesday, did you begin to reach out to Mr. Kemp again, trying to find out where he was with the children? Yes. Did you receive any response? No, not until that evening, about 6:40 p.m. And did Mr. Kemp ever return a call to you, to the deputy, to me, or anyone else that you're aware of? No. And at one point while you were trying to reach him, did your oldest child, Avery, answer your call? Yes, he did. All right. And at about the time that the officer was trying to reach Mr. Kemp, did Mr. Kemp open the Our Family Wizard app? Yes. And on the app, you're notified when he logs into that.
Alright, I'm just going to talk about this real quick. On a video, it was probably 2 or 3 videos back, but Kemp is talking about this is going to go on vexatious litigation as long as they don't prosecute perjury. Kemp didn't feel like picking up the phone. I don't necessarily blame him. I mean, a bunch of people blowing up my phone that I don't like, I might not answer either. Obviously, it's like something's going on. Hey, talk to your mom. It's not like he didn't let his child answer the phone. But keep in mind how Kemp didn't really say anything about her. Like, bad about her. He didn't make anything up. He wished to co-parent with her. He just wishes for the court to kind of leave him alone and let him do his thing and be a dad and raise his offspring to be in the image of the Creator. Now, Kemp was called by, and there are some parts of the testimony in here that are cut out, and if you wish to hear the entire thing, just go to my Telegram channel and you can watch the entire video up there. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I cut out a fair amount of her testimony, but I also left some of the parts where she's talking about Kemp in a very negative way. Okay, so I don't wish for anybody to get the impression that I'm trying to make Kemp look like a saint. He's not. None of us are. Okay? I just wish for you to know that.
Whenever we open something, yes, and timestamps it also, correct? Yes. And in that response that he gave you, did he tell you where he was or what they were doing?
His response was, we are keeping, he was referring to the notice of hearing and said that originally it's for Wednesday,
he said, I can't make it, or we can't make it, we're camping Thursday afternoon or Friday to work.
Is this a copy? We attached it to our pleadings. Is this a copy of that message from him?
Yes.
And it was at 6:20 p.m.?
Yes.
And that would be, he opened it from his cell phone, correct?
Yes.
Remove this into evidence, please.
And that makes you number 2.
That would be the same cell phone you were calling, to which he was not responding, and the same cell phone the deputy had called and that I had called, correct? Okay. You followed the deputy's instructions?
Yes.
Okay. And ultimately, Mr. Kemp was arrested on 3 felony counts of custodial interference, wasn't he?
Yes.
And this was after multiple attempts by multiple people who happened to bring the children back voluntarily, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so then we had to file an emergency motion that when we filed it, you had no idea where the children were, correct?
No.
And to this day, if the Green County dispatch officers had not found him, you...
All right, whoa. Let me just cut in here real quick because they had filed the emergency motion. I saw it on Tuesday when they filed. And it said that they were going to have court the next day. Kemp was planning on going to court the next day. Okay? So there was no reason to get the cops involved or arrest him. He just rightfully thought that it was his parenting time. Keep that in mind.
Still didn't know where they are, correct? Okay. At this point, when you talk with Avery...
Wait.
...found him, you still didn't know that when we filed it...
Okay, so the attorney's about to ask, hey, if we didn't do all of this, if we didn't go and arrest him, you still wouldn't know where they are, right? And she said, yeah. Well, how do you know that? How do you know that? How can you tell the future? Because I'm telling you right now, I know that Kemp was talking to me. I tell you, under the penalty of perjury, he was talking to me on Tuesday. He was planning to go to court on Wednesday. I don't think Kemp has ever not shown up for court.
You had no idea where the children were, correct?
No.
And to this day, if the Green County dispatch officers had not found him, you still didn't know where they are, correct? Okay. At this point, when you talk with Avery, what was your impression of Avery's state of mind when he happened to answer the phone at the campsite?
He was very short. He was quiet. He would give very short answers to the questions I had. I asked him where they were at. He said at a campground, I don't know where, which he actually has frequented that campground several times with his father in the past and knows the name of that campground and has referred to the name of that campground.
Maybe he just didn't want to tell you.
To me before. I got the sense that something wasn't right. And then I was more worried because Avery was not sharing the information with me.
Now, Avery is the same child that made some vague threats against his own life trying to get away from Mr. Kemp not too long ago, correct?
Yes.
Resulting in the trip to the emergency room, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so, was it your perception that Avery was afraid in the way he was behaving with you?
Yeah, he was really off.
And were you personally afraid that the children were engaged with Mr. Kemp?
Yes, because I didn't know what was going on or where he was at.
And he wouldn't tell you, would he?
No, he would not.
And he's not supposed to discuss this litigation with children on social media because it's not in their best interest. You've heard the court telling that, right?
Yes.
Okay. And when the children got in your car on Tuesday night, were they making statements to you about what had transpired with their father?
Yes.
Had their father been giving them information about this litigation that was actually false?
Yes.
Had he been manipulating their emotions into believing things that weren't true and or made you look like somehow at fault?
Yes.
Tell the court what they were saying to you.
Saturday, this Fort Worth parenting time, the boys are the oldest and middle one, Avery and Eli, went with their father on Saturday. Lila ended up sending home with me because she got they told me they were there and it was on Saturday. When I picked the Adrian and Eli back up Saturday at 5, they started telling me that, yeah, we get to see Dad more. It's our summertime visits now, and so we'll be with him till Friday. And I said, did he discuss that with you? They said yes. And I said, well, I need to talk to Dad and we need to figure this out because that doesn't seem like it's true.
Were they saying to you, like, this is your fault, you're a liar?
When I picked them up from the campground, they got in the car and they were upset, which is understandable. And they started telling me that you're a liar, you got Dad arrested, you did this is all your fault. And because of the half-truths he tells the kids and because of the things he shares with the kids, he is manipulating their emotions, their well-being, and giving them information that they don't need to know about.
And in response to what we filed, he has not filed a response to any of the motions for current hearing, correct?
That's not.
The only thing he's attempted to file was whatever that was he was bringing up earlier at the start of this hearing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
He doesn't respond to me when I ask simple questions regarding the kids. And in my opinion, he uses our children as pawns to get back at me, to control. He refers to them as offspring, as a physical thing that he controls and owns, and that's not how it is.
You've heard him in this courtroom. Essentially, he hasn't said the word sovereign citizen, but he's done everything other than say that phrase, correct?
Yes.
He's told this court that it has no authority over him, right? He said that you have no authority over him, right? Did you watch him in the courtroom before the judge took the bench telling me that I have no authority and telling me to be quiet?
He does not.
Shut up.
He does not respect boundaries, never has. He does not respect rules, whether a judge has written those rules or someone has not asked him nicely to do something.
He had, I'm sorry, go ahead. He's had suicidal ideations in the past, correct?
Yes.
Were you afraid that given his history with marijuana, alcohol, temper, and anger and suicidal ideations that he was going to murder suicide with your children? Possible?
Alright, and this is where you absolutely know it's over the top. Okay. He wouldn't tell me where he was, what he was doing, and whether you wish to believe her testimony or not. That's up to you. That's why we have jurors and juries. But I'm just telling you from my point of view. She's all like, I was so worried about the children. He wouldn't tell me where he was, but he sent me a text telling me that they were camping and they would be back at this time. And he even gave me time, offered me more time when it's supposed to be his parenting time. And he told the children it was supposed to be his parenting time and made plans to go do something fun with them. But he shouldn't tell them that because it's against the court order to, I guess, tell your parents or tell your children when you're going to spend time with them. And then when I go to the cops and get them arrested, they seem to be upset with me about it. I don't know about you, but children are typically pretty smart. The thing that really just... Has Kemp had suicidal tendencies? Yeah, okay, who hasn't? Did you think he was going to commit suicide with your children at the campground? Maybe, yeah. Okay, that's a little over the top, you know? That's the thing about liars, is that they always go over the top. I just don't know. You know, it's like, how bad can we make this seem? How awful can we make this seem? Because that's pretty awful. I mean, I don't know what they were actually talking about with the oldest child. I don't know with the hospital thing and the suicidal or, trying to get away from the dad. I don't know. Because I can't verify any of that. What I do know is that every time I've talked to Kemp, he seems very genuine to me about loving his children. And what I know is that, and this is all just hearsay for me, okay? But when he got out of jail, when they arrested him for custodial interference for kidnapping his own children when he rightfully thought that he should have them, he was talking to me about how his children were so hurt by their mom and they were talking bad about their mom, and he was trying to kind of smooth it over and stick up for their mom. He could have been playing me. He could have been lying to me, you know. That's for you to judge. Like, you're going to hear her side of the story, and you're going to hear what he does. But to think that this guy took his kids camping to blow his brains out in front of them just to hurt everybody for some crazy unknown reason is a little over the top. And when you're lying, you should at least make your lies believable. Just my opinion, not a fact.
Violated the order of protection against you basically hours into being issued, right? Yes. Okay. He's threatened this court and me, basically, hasn't he? Yes. Which the court has not told.
And he threatened me basically, he didn't do it. Basically, though.
You had to have perfectly.
All right, that's enough. So, Ms. Brooks, let me ask you this question. If I'm looking at my 5th of May order.
Before he gets into this, I just wish to point out, even the judge, even Don Ash is like, okay, that's enough. That's a little over the top. I'm going to stop you right there. I've actually never seen them really do that. It's kind of surprising to me.
It says, Mr. Kemp, after serving his sentence in criminal contempt charges and purging his child support arrears, is within or returned to his previous parenting schedule as set out in the court's order of January 26, 2021. What do you think that means? You don't think that means he gets his summer parenting time? January 26.
All right, listen to this, because the judge just said, when we arrested him, like a couple weeks ago, and we forced him to pay that extortion money, in the order it says, after he did that, he gets to go back to the original parenting time where he has his children all summer, for the most part. Listen to it again. Let's hear this again. You know, you make up your own mind.
Charges and purging his child support arrears is within or returned to his previous parenting schedule as set out in the court's order of January 26, 2021. What do you think that means? You don't think that means he gets his summer parenting time? I'm asking you, Mr. Cook.
Oh, you're asking me. I'm sorry. I thought you were asking my client. Your Honor, your order has made clear that when he completed certain things, that he would be eligible to have more parenting time. When he completed them.
I don't see that. Show me that order.
Okay.
I'm looking at the order of May 5th, and it starts out, in conclusion, is the court's goal to expand Mr. Kemp's parenting time with his children. All Mr. Kemp needs to do is pay his child support, complete his parenting and anger management course, refrain from his personal attacks on his children, or counsel this court, and promote a positive relationship between his ex-wife and their children. The court also ordered Ms. Kemp to complete certain goals if she wants to maintain her parenting schedule. Then the next sentence, last sentence in order, Mr. Kemp, after serving his sentence in the criminal contempt charges and purging his child support arrears, is then to return to his previous parenting schedule.
Your Honor, first of all, I believe it's at page 8 of your order. He has not served his criminal contempt charge. He bonded out, Your Honor. He's not filed any notice of appeal whatsoever. So he hasn't completed that first condition.
I agree with that. So let's say that you take the position, and I did not address in here that he's entitled to an appeal bond, which he is on the criminal charge. But so I didn't address that. So your position is, since he's not served that those 2 weeks, whatever it is, then he's not therefore eligible to return to his parenting schedule of January 26, 2024.
Correct, Your Honor. And in other orders of this court, you have said to him plainly.
Okay, let me just explain this right here. Okay, they put him in jail for criminal contempt. He wrote a habeas corpus from jail to send to the Supreme Court. Immediately after after he does that, they give him an appeal bond. They bring an appeal bond to Kemp and they say, here's all you gotta do to get out. You just pay this appeal bond. You heard the attorney say he didn't even file an appeal. So why does he have an appeal bond? Okay? But I don't know. You don't even get an appeal bond for criminal stuff. Okay? You can appeal it and you can stay the sentence until after the appellate court's heard. An appeal bond is a civil matter thing where somebody gets a judgment against you in civil law and you're going to appeal that judgment, but you have to put up the money for the judgment in a bond so that if you don't win the appeal, they take the money. The money's there. It's in the bank. That's what an appeal bond is. Because even the bail bondsman told Kemp he didn't know what an appeal bond was. Even the bail bondsman. So let's listen to this again so we can hear really closely, and then I'm going to show you something really cool, or maybe not so cool.
To maintain our parenting support and promote a positive relationship between his ex-wife and their children. We're also Miss Kemp to complete certain goals if she wants to maintain her parenting schedule. The next sentence, last sentence in order, Mr. Kemp, after serving his sentence in the criminal contempt charges and purging his child support arrearage, is then to return to his previous parenting schedule.
Your Honor, first of all, I believe it's at page 8 of your order, he has not served his criminal contempt charge. He bonded out, Your Honor. He's not filed any notice of appeal whatsoever. So he hasn't completed that first condition.
I agree with
his criminal contempt charge. He bonded out, Your Honor. He's not filed any notice of appeal whatsoever. So
how do you bond out with an appeal bond and not file any notice of appeal? What do you think's going on? I call that extortion. Mafia style.
He hasn't completed that first condition.
See, he didn't complete it because he got out. Because they offered him a bond.
And I did not address in here that he's entitled to an appeal bond, which he is on the criminal charge. But, so I did address that. So your position is, since he's not served those 2 weeks, whatever it is, then he's not therefore eligible to return to his parenting schedule of January 26, 2024.
Correct, Your Honor. And in other orders of this court, you have said to him plainly that he has to take the parenting class. He has to take the anger management.
Okay. Now here's what I wish to show you. Let's see here. Right here. Okay. So just because, I like to read a whole lot of legal stuff for no apparent reason, because I can't ever understand it or give legal advice, that would be retarded. I only talk about law. But here's Furlong versus Furlong. So family case, obviously, Furlong versus Furlong. We hold that the order at issue was not sufficiently clear to sustain a conviction for its violation by the mere appearance on a city street 10 minutes later than husband undisputedly could have been lawfully present in the driveway to repair okay, we must construe any ambiguities in favor of the husband. In the end, the order must not leave any reasonable, objective doubt concerning its meaning. Ambiguities in an order alleged to have been violated should be interpreted in the favor of the person facing contempt charges. Determining whether an order is sufficiently free from ambiguity to be enforced in a contempt proceeding is a legal inquiry that is subject to de novo review. But what that's saying is the law, okay? And it's not real hard because it all makes sense. What it's saying, the law is that if there's any ambiguity, like if you think you're following the order and you just aren't for some reason because it wasn't real clear, like when you get told, when you spend time in jail and pay the extortion fees, you can see your children again, and then you go to jail, you write a habeas corpus or a return freedom, and they offer you an appeal bond that even the judicial officer remember this man was appointed by the Supreme Court of Tennessee. He said he absolutely has the right to that in a criminal matter. I've never seen one in a criminal matter. I've only seen them in civil matters. Okay? In criminal matters, when you get arrested, you just get bail until, your trial. See, he already had his trial. He was already convicted. And he didn't even write an appeal bond. How is he supposed to know that he's not supposed to have his children in the summer where the judge clearly said, on January 26th of this year, that's what I changed the order to. And they go in, swear out 3 warrants for 3 felonies for custodial interference against Kemp. And really, with all the facts on the record, the custodial interference was from his ex. And the courts and the cops and the clerks and the attorney who's committing barratry that he can't sue her for, he can't have access to a court of law to go after the attorney who gave her client all of this legal advice to have him arrested on 3 trumped up charges that really should be on her. And this man who's appointed by the Supreme Court of Tennessee, he really should know this case law, because I'm going to tell you this right now. There is not any case law anywhere in the United States that says if an order's ambiguous and you're trying to hold somebody in contempt, you use the ambiguity against them. Because that doesn't make any sense. That's wrong. It's wrong. But the judge signed an order. If it didn't make you laugh, it'd make you cry.
You even asked us at the May 5th hearing, Your Honor, that if he did not do those things, to please move to restrict his time further. And now we have a situation.
If you read the rest of the sentence, though, it also says that he wants to get back to shared parenting. And I don't think I can make his parenting time conditional on payment of child support and those other things. But I understand your position. Okay. Anything else?
Well, Your Honor, so now we have a situation where he is not...
Alright, so what he just said was, in this part of the order that you're reading from, about him doing parenting classes and keeping up with child support and basically being a good little slave and letting us administrate him consensually, as soon as he does all of those things, we will give him back 50-50 custody. Well, you know what? If he's really that bad of a dad and that bad of a man, why would you give him back 50-50 custody, even if he did those parenting things? I mean, I'm sure Judy, who Delilah accuses of molesting her, I'm sure that a couple of parenting classes isn't gonna stop that. I mean, I don't know. And after Delilah accuses him of molesting her in open court, on the record, verified, what does the thing do? She locks her mom up to force Delilah to go with the child molester. That was in Missouri. This is in Tennessee. You seeing a problem yet? Because the only way this could happen is on purpose.
Respecting that the parenting time has reverted to mother, and he has disappeared from the children and wouldn't even answer where he was with the children.
He said he's camping. He didn't even take them out of state.
To 50 days with 30 suspended, so he hasn't served the 20, and we warned him that if he continued the behaviors that were back here again on today, posting on social media, not paying child support, etc., that you would take away that 30-day suspension and he would have to serve it all. So our position is that he should serve the entire sentence, but now that he can't be trusted to bring the children back and respond where he is, that any parenting time he has should at a minimum be supervised. But at this point, perhaps he shouldn't have parenting time until he demonstrates to you that it is not about him. You've warned him many times about these choices he's making are not in the best interest of the children. He's making it about him instead of him.
Let me ask you this. Are the children currently in therapy? Do we have therapists?
Yes.
And how often are the children seeing the therapist, Joe?
Every 2 weeks, and since this incident, I called and talked to the therapist and let her know what was going on, and she worked them in for an additional appointment this coming Wednesday.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Cook. Thank you, Mr. Shepard. I'll hear from Mr. Kemp now.
I was actually going to call him, Your Honor.
That's okay. Let's see if we can get through this, and then I might ask him some questions. I'll let you ask him some questions, Ms. Cook.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
This is the first time I've ever seen this in my life. Don Ash does not allow the prosecuting attorney to settle the case. So, hey, that's the case I presented. I'm done with my part of the case. Kemp can do his part of the case. Don stops her and says, I'm going to question him. I'm going to move this. Not you. Because you don't know enough about law, you dumb attorney.
Mr. Kemp, if you'll step up here, please.
I also have a declaration that you filed for opposing counsel, if you'd like to give it to her. I made 3 copies.
What's the declaration of what?
The declaration, I made 3 copies, just
What's the declaration of?
that you have a man here.
I thought I already made that an exhibit.
Right, I was just offering opposing counsel a copy, that's all.
That's okay. Okay, if you'll raise your right hand, Mr. Kemp.
No, sir, I won't be sworn in.
You're not going to be sworn in?
I do not compel evidence against myself.
You what?
I do not compel evidence against myself. I will not be sworn in.
You understand? If you don't, then all the stuff they've said, I'm going to take it as true. You understand?
I'm not even party to this case.
Mr. Kemp.
Alright, before it really kind of goes forward, and there's going to be a couple of things I'm sure a few people are going to be like, oh, he's talking crazy, he's not even part of the case. It's just because you don't understand what's going on. But the judicial officer just said, hey, look, if you don't testify, I'm going to have to accept everything they say is true. And what Kemp did at the very beginning with the declaration, that was sworn, that was performed under the penalty of perjury. Okay? See, if you go and read your Bible and you have faith in the Creator like Kemp does, it says in your Bible that you don't swear by heaven nor hell. Let your yea mean yea and your nay mean nay. Okay? But Kemp put facts upon the record at the very beginning that nobody disputed. Not only did nobody dispute the facts that he put on the record, but in fact, the facts that he put on the record were verified by his ex. She verified that she went and swore out the warrants, and she grabbed the police and went and got the kids, and that, you know, they're asking for more time. They're asking to take the children away from him because he takes them camping and writes them I love you notes and sends them to school. So, I hope Don Ash takes everything that they said as true. I hope, is my prayer, not praying to Don Ash, but it is my prayer to the Creator to save Don Ash's soul, that he takes everything that just happened on the record as true and he applies the law to it. Let's see what happens.
Let me tell you, Mr. Kemp, I want to try to help you get to see your children.
Well,
if you want to start acting like an adult and listen to this and then work with me on this, you're going to get your children during the summer. If you don't, if you want to keep on playing this, quit being disrespectful, quit playing and not playing the rules here, then you're not going to get to see it. And that's on you. I want you to see your children this summer. I do. I want you to have your regular parenting time this summer. Do you want that or not?
Yes, sir. I have a sacred trust with this woman to raise offspring up in admonition of the Lord, and that's what I intend on doing. I want to communicate.
You will put on proof in regard to the allegations they made against you.
I would just.
Again, he says, allegations they made against you. He knows their fault. He stopped them from testifying because they were going over the top after they were talking about him committing suicide in front of his kids.
They have opinions. I don't know if she's a psychologist, but everybody has opinions. I don't dispute
You're not going to say anything about the facts unless you're put under oath. So you can either, if you put under oath, answer some questions I'm going to ask you or not. So you can pick which one you want to do.
Well, sir, I'm held. Everything that I say, I do affirm I'm held accountable for. Absolutely.
Everything I do and say, I'm held accountable for. I'm under the penalty of perjury. I actually told you that in kind of my very first sentence of the day. I'm held under the penalty of perjury. And what Don Ash just told him, oh no, if you don't disrespect your God and violate your God's laws, then we gonna take your children. And if you don't start playing by our rules and looking at us as your gods, then we gonna make your life real bad. That's what I heard.
Absolutely.
Everything you want.
Everything I say, I am held accountable for. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So you want to be sworn in or not?
I'm not a part of this case, sir. I'm not a part of this court.
You're part of the case. So do you want to be sworn in or not?
Sir, I am not part of this court. Did you read the declaration?
It's amazing to me, Mr. Kemp, you want to give up your summer with your children because of some fantasy that you have that you're not supposed to be in court.
I'm not giving up on my children. That's on my offspring. This is why I'm here, to let the administrative court know.
Anything else, Mr. Kemp?
I need to serve this action case of Bartrey.
No, sir.
If this is a court of law,
You're not doing that.
if this is a court of law,
No, sir, we're not doing that.
and we operate under due process,
I already told you
I'm telling you, we're not operating under due process.
Issue a summons, and it's that way, we're more than welcome to do that.
Rules of civil
Anybody in court today,
rules of civil procedure do not apply in a court of law.
they certainly do.
I do not consent to an administrative process. My intent's not to be contemptuous. My intent's not to have controversy. Honestly, I just want to be left alone and parent my children. That's all I want to do. I want to work with the mother in the raising of our offspring and admonition of the Lord, just like our son got saved last Sunday. I'm just a dad. That's what I am. I'm a dad. That's all I want to be as a dad. I want to be left alone, and that's what I require.
No, sir, you don't want to be a dad, because if you want to be a dad, what you do is do what I tell you to do. And I'm trying to give you the parenting time the entire summer, like I told you I do, and you're simply refusing to do it. So you're making that choice. And so it's on you, the man, making that choice, not to see your children this summer, which is an amazing thing to me, for a man who gets up here and says he loves his family. And I've asked you to do 4 or 5 things, and you just refuse to do it.
So,
I don't respect it.
So man to man.
Look, this hurts me so bad. You don't want to be a dad. You don't want to be a dad because you're not listening to your daddy government. And you're not letting us administrate you. And I just can't understand why you wouldn't want us to administrate you so that you could be a good example of a slave for your children so that we can administrate them more easily in the future. But if you don't allow us to administrate you, well, we gotta give the young slaves to the slaves that allow us to administrate them. It solves a lot of problems for us in the future. You see, because we don't wish for a slave revolt, and if we get a bunch of children growing up thinking their own thoughts, believing that they have rights, it might not work out so well. And see, what Kemp is doing is there's a maxim of law that goes, he who does not exercise his rights has none. And Kemp is just exercising his rights so that you don't lose yours. And if you don't do something to help him keep his rights, your rights are already lost. They're already gone. They're done. Nobody's arguing that this is an administrative court.
You're saying that you have the right to impede upon the sacred trust of my Almighty God to raise my children, my offspring up in admonition of the Lord?
Did you get divorced?
Sir, man to man, do you have any authority to step into a sacred trust with my sacred and sovereign God Almighty?
Did you get divorced, Mr. Kemp?
Sir, that's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you, man to man, do you have any authority to interfere with the sacred trust of my God to raise up my children in admonition of the Lord, the offspring that I share with this woman over here? All third-party interlopers can exit.
I'll answer your question and you can answer mine. The answer to your question is, it is not for me to decide about your relationship with your children between you and God. My job is to look out by the state of Tennessee and decide, rightfully or wrongfully, that someone has to look out for the best interests of children.
You hear that? My job is to look out for the best interest of the children for the state of Tennessee, not your God. That's his job, is to look out for the best interest of the children for the state of Tennessee and not your God. And he even says, right or wrong, rightfully or wrongfully. Let's hear this again.
I'll answer your question and you can To answer your question is, it is not for me to decide about your relationship with your children between you and God. My job is to look out by the state of Tennessee has decided, rightfully or wrongfully, that someone has to look out for the best interests of children when parents get divorced. And that person is me in this case. I didn't make that decision. The legislature made that decision. If you don't like it, go see your state representative or your state senator. But right now, the person who's looking out, who's supposed to look out for the best interests of your children is me. Not you, not Ms. Shepherd, it's me. And that's what I want to do. And I think it's in the best interest of your children for you to stop this foolishness and start seeing them, spending time with them during the summer. And to do that, all you have to do is follow my rules, and there's only about 3 or 4.
Follow my rules.
Who have I done wrong?
My rules.
Who have I done wrong?
Ruler.
Who have you done wrong?
Who have I done wrong?
Well, let's see. First of all, have you attended the anger management class like I asked you to attend?
Is your orders verified?
So the answer to that's no. Have you attended the parenting class I asked you to attend?
Are your
anger management class like I asked you to attend?
Is your orders verified?
So the answer to that's no.
The answer to that's no. You mean the orders aren't verified? You mean they're not verified? Because right here, here's what it says. A plea of former recovery in the county courts and a motion on an official bond should set out the names of the parties to the former proceeding with sufficient certainty, describe the nature of the proceedings so as to show that the court had jurisdiction, and should conclude with a verification by the record. You mean when parties at action to recover something go into a county court in motion, they gotta set out the names and, make sure everybody's correct, everything's in proper order, and then describe the nature of the proceedings, like the nature of the wrong and the cause of the accusation, to show that they have jurisdiction. And then after they do all of that stuff, they should verify the entire record of the court, including the orders? That's what I just read.
First of all, have you attended the anger management class like I asked you to attend?
Is your orders verified?
No.
So the answer to that's no. Have you attended the parenting class I asked you to attend?
Are your orders verified?
Yes. So the answer to that's no.
Yes?
Have you paid child support in June?
Are your orders duly qualified?
No, that's the answer.
No.
They are duly qualified, but once again, you've not...
Wait. Again. No, yes, no. Let's check this out.
So the answer to that's no.
The answer to that's no.
The parenting class I asked you to attend?
Are your orders verified?
Yes.
Yes.
So the answer to that's
But he said no before.
Have you paid your child support in June?
Are your orders duly qualified?
No, that's the answer.
No.
They are duly qualified, but once again, you've not qualified.
No. That's the answer. But they are duly qualified. You see, in a video I did about Kemp a couple videos back, I'll try and just throw the audio in real quick. Kemp saying, to have due process, there has to be a jury to have due process. And Don Ash says, that's not true. That's not true. Wait a minute. Strike that from the record. That's incorrect. That is incorrect. He struck from the record the fact that it's not true, because that would have been a lie, because that is due process. of law, not administration. And now he's double talking on whether the orders are verified or not, whether the orders are duly qualified. And he answers the orders are not duly qualified, and then he comes back and says they are duly qualified. And in a way they are. See, it's legal and administrative law qualified, but see, real duly qualified is legal and lawful. Okay, legal and lawful, not just administrative law, all law. Okay, the law of Moses, the law of right and wrong, laws of the universe. It has to comply with everything to be duly qualified. And that's why he answered no first. And then he said they were duly qualified, is because he was stating that they are administrative law and legal. Just to make that clear for you.
What I've asked you to do, I just...
What I asked you to do, not order.
A man who wants to spend time with his children is going to do something just the opposite to get to spend time with his children.
Just like you stated, I'm a man. I'm not a legal fiction that you seek.
Let me explain something to you. I'm a man that loves my little man in training. And I wish I could spend more time with him. I really do. But I almost spend all of my time trying to teach you guys what law is so that my little man in training will have a world to grow up into. That's not hell. And if you guys don't start learning the law, this world's gonna be hell. You better figure out which God you follow. Do you follow Lord State? Lord Judge? The legislature created my job. Well, you saw on January 6th, the temple of democracy. In fact, capital means a temple to Jupiter in Rome. See, my gods from the state legislature, they pointed me here to do this to you. And if you don't cooperate, it's going to get real ugly.
I am a man. You have a man standing here that has offspring, whose duty is to raise those offspring up in admonition of the Lord, as commanded to me by Yahweh, the sacred and sovereign God Almighty over all things. And I follow God's law. God's law supersedes all law. The state of Tennessee has no interdiction into a sacred trust with the offspring of I and their mother. That's it, plain and simple.
All right. So anything else to do for you, Mr. Kemp?
Excuse me. Yes, I need to move this action in case.
Yeah, you can uphold a court of law.
Is the court refusing to take a document upon the record?
Yes.
The court's refusing to accept and file a document upon the record.
Yes.
Let the record reflect that.
As I told you, you're required to file in the clerk's office with the summons under the rules of civil procedure. That's how you file.
You have to
It's
follow
a common
the
law
rules of civil
court. This is not a
procedure.
circuit court.
You have to follow our little statutes, or we won't do anything for you.
Yeah. Am I a slave?
No.
I'm not a slave, so I have rights.
You do.
Are you upholding those rights?
What?
Are you upholding those rights?
I don't know what right you're asking whether I'm not upholding.
Am I a slave?
No, sir.
So I have rights.
No, I think you do have rights.
Okay. So I have the right to freedom of speech.
Yes, sir.
Let me pause this real quick. He's saying, am I a slave? The judge says, no, you are not a slave. He says, do I have rights? What? Huh? Do I have rights? Huh? Yeah, you have rights. Are you upholding those rights? Well, which rights are you talking about? I don't know. The right for me to be a dad and hang out with my little ones and not get arrested and drug into court every week? that right? And let me explain something to you for people who don't really study history. Until probably the 1960s or 70s, the only way that somebody else administrated your family, where your children could go, who they lived with, what they did, what went on, until about the 1960s or 70s, throughout all of history of all of mankind, the only way that happened is if you were a slave. That's it. That's the only way it happened. But now you're doing it to me right here, right now. But you're telling me I'm not a slave. And you're not willing to uphold my rights or allow me to access a court of law.
I have a right to a trial by jury which is inviolate.
Not in these type of cases, you don't.
I'm not talking about these type of cases. I have a right to a trial by jury which is inviolate, correct?
Not for these type of cases.
What type of cases are you talking about? Because it doesn't it says the right to a trial by jury is inviolate.
Yeah, child custody, modification type cases, those type of things.
So
let me explain those to you. Child custody, anything administrative, you don't have the right to trial by jury. That's what he just said. And what Kemp was just saying is, I have the right to trial by jury, inviolate, right? Yeah, you do, but not for these type of cases. He is talking about family custody cases that you have to willingly participate in for them to be lawful. What Kemp is talking about is I have the right to trial by jury, inviolate, for this common law action I got right here. You know, like the 7th Amendment states.
Child custody court is a court of law?
It is.
But there's no trial by jury. So how is it a court of law?
Once again, you need to speak to your legislator. If you don't like the way the law is, all I do is follow what's in what the Tennessee legislature's passed. So,
well, this isn't legislature.
See, this is the problem right here, because the whole idea of 3 branches of government is that the legislature creates these statutes on how the government administrates itself. The executive passes those statutes, and whenever those statutes get to the street, get to the people, if it starts affecting the people unlawfully, the judicial officers are supposed to say, this is unlawful. They're not supposed to say, oh no, we just break the law and bust up your family and arrest you for actually against all of our own writings and all of our own laws and all of our own stuff. But you gotta go talk to the legislature about that, because for some reason they're supposed to uphold the law, even though I'm in the judicial branch of government. I mean, you're not actually that ignorant, are you?
This is common law. This is natural law. It's not legislator. Legislators can make courts, but real law is common law. Do you understand?
I do.
So I have due process of law.
Did you just hear that? He says real law is common law. Legislature can't make real law. Do you understand? And the Don, he says, I do, because he was appointed by the Supreme Court of Tennessee. He knows what the law is. Listen.
Well, listen. This isn't legislator. This is common law. This is natural law. It's not legislator. Legislators can make courts, but real law is common law. Do you understand?
I do.
So I have due process of law.
He agrees.
And that I don't. And
the judge agrees.
Okay.
Sir, you're saying that I have due process of law, but I don't have due process of law in these circumstances?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
you're saying yes.
I'm saying I've given you due process of law, Mr. Kemp.
Sir.
And everything that...
No, he gave him due process of administration.
Well, I have due process of law, but I don't have it in these circumstances. I just need you to confirm for the record.
No, sir. You do have due process of law, and every time you walk through a courthouse door, you get due process of law.
Then where's the jury? If I have due process of law, but not in these circumstances, that's what you said.
Yeah. Mr. Kemp, let me look at you man to man and tell you what I'm doing here.
Yes, sir. Thank you for speaking to me man to man, by the way.
Oh, and I just wish to point out, you know, last time, and it's in one of the other videos about Kemp, Kemp says, man to man, you can tell me what I can and cannot put on Facebook. And Don Ash is like, well, while I'm wearing this robe, while I'm judging over you, while I'm acting like you're God and everybody believes me because I got this title called judge and the Supreme Court appointed me, I'm going to do it. Right here, he just said, talking to you man to man. He just took off the robe. I'm not talking to you as a judge. I'm talking to you man to man. Mano y mano.
These circumstances, that's what you said.
Yeah. Mr. Kemp, let me look at you man to man and tell you what I'm doing here.
Yes, sir. Thank you for speaking to me man to man, by the way.
I don't want there to be any doubt about it. So here's the proof has been submitted here that you have not followed my request. In fact,
Request, not orders.
Posting today on Facebook is directly in conflict with what I've ordered you to do.
Don't tell all the other slaves what we're doing.
50 days in jail and suspended all of that except for 20 days. I then set you a bond, an appeal bond, since you have the right to do that in a criminal case. I'm going to revoke that bond because you have continued, once again, you have violated this court's orders. I'm going to, instead of the 50 days, I'm going to order you to serve 30 days in jail. So they're going to take you into custody today. You're going to serve 30 days. I'm going to come back up. I'm going to come to court in Washington County. I think it's the 30th. Let me look here and see what day this works for sure. Yeah, I'm going to come back up to Washington County, and they're going to bring you up from the jail on that day, on the 30th, on June 30th. And at that time, Mr. Kemp, I'm going to ask you these same questions. If you want to follow these easy instructions so you can have your summer parenting time of A, when you get out, sign up for the parenting class. B, sign up for the anger management class. C, pay your June support and start paying your support to take care of your children on a regular basis. I'm going to see if you're going to meet those obligations. And then, Ms. Cook, I also would like the therapist to be here on that day because I would like Mr. Kemp to hear the damage that is being done to his children from someone who is a professional who deals with children and their pressures and stuff like that, so that he can see about whether or not he actually wants to parent or he wants to keep up this constant battle, which makes no sense at all. When a court wants him to be with their children all summer long, and he simply refuses to because he can't follow a few simple orders, which is sad to this court. So, Madam Clerk, if you need to send me a minimus sign, you can email that to Ms. Morgan. She'll send it to me, and then I'll sign and get it back to you. Ms. Kemp, I'll draw this order finding him in fact, that based upon the proof submitted, and since Mr. Kemp would not address any of these issues, to find that your emergency motion is appropriate at this time. I'm going to suspend his parenting time for the next 30 days, but he's going to be in jail anyway, so he can have any parenting time there anyway. Number two, I'm going to come back on that June 30th day with the hope that Mr. Kemp is going going to say, you know what, I'm ready to be a dad again, and I'm going to work on this, and I'm going to listen to what the therapist says, and I'm going to follow these instructions of this court so that I can see my children can be with me every week during the summer, except for a few days when they go spend parenting time with their mother. And like I said, I'll do that order, and I'll try to get it done today. If I don't get it out today, I'll get it out by Monday.
Thank you, Your Honor. We appreciate it.
So, Mr. Kemp, anything else I can do to help you, sir?
I object to.
Anything I can do to help you? Yeah, you could uphold my rights to be a dad. You could give me access to a court of law. You could follow the facts and realize that I had my children on my own parenting time, even with your unlawful administrative court. You could, there's a whole lot you could do for me, but I kind of get the feeling at this point you're not going to. Yeah. Yeah, that's about it. And, I don't know about you, but I heard Kemp say a whole lot. I wish to just raise them right with her. I don't wish to take them away from her. I'm sure that he has awful things to say about her. I've heard some of them. But he's not talking about it. Not fighting. Let me show you this motion that they filed. Okay. Father appeared on Thursday, June 21st, and this is right after he got out of jail for the most part, at the two schools where the minor children attend, and left written notes for the children. The schools notified mother of the notes. The notes are attached hereto as Exhibit A. So I wonder if the children even got to see the notes, or if the school just intercepted them. While on their face, the notes appear to be benign, they were dropped off after the events of this week in which father was arrested on 3 felonious felony accounts, okay, because he actually had custody of custodial interference. While saying he wanted to have lunch, but the notes were dropped off after lunch, it manipulates their emotions and by implication impugns their mother. Impugns their mother by implication. And saying not allowed in letter to Eli, the most susceptible child to his tactics, conveys that the father is being victimized. He is being victimized. He's being sacrificed to the god called the state. Very, very appropriate word. The implications of it being negative toward mother, toward the court. Now let me read you these awful notes that we have to go to court over. Avery, hey bud, just wanted to stop and say hey. Want you to know I'm extremely proud of you. You are a fine young man. Love, Dad. Exhibit A. Lila, I want to eat lunch with you and say hey, and that I love you, and that I'm proud of you. Love, Dad. Eli, wanted to come by and eat with you, but it's not allowed. Just wanted to tell you I love you, and I'm very proud of you. Love, Dad. And when I first saw this, I actually knew why he couldn't eat lunch with them, but just for kicks and giggles, I was like, why couldn't you eat lunch with them? Because of COVID. So you mean The mom couldn't have ate lunch with them either. And the reason I know this is because I got a little man in training. I can go up to his school and eat lunch before COVID. And I did. And I haven't been able to do that all this year because of COVID. Plain as day to me, but to them, it's, let's see their own words. It's, it's his tactics to convey that he's being victimized and the implications of that, it being negative towards the mother and towards the court. Well, I'm sorry, Miss Kemp's ex, but if your children don't like you, maybe your children just don't like you. Might not be Kemp's fault. I'm going to leave with this, because this is in their motion to have him locked up and to take the children as much as they can away from him. Father's view of parenting and the best interest of the children is horribly skewed and destructive. Horribly skewed and destructive. The father's view of parenting and the best interest of the children is horribly skewed and destructive, and the law requires him to go serve 30 days in jail because he took his kids camping and then wrongfully got arrested. And then when he gets out of jail, he just wants to let them know he's all right and goes and drops off food and notes at their school telling them he loves them. And the state, the courts that you allow to exist, believe that that is horribly skewed and destructive for the interest of the children. And the courts that you allow to exist believe the best interest of the children is to take them away from a father who loves them, lock that man up, rob him for as much as they can, and deny him access to any real court of law. Yeah. I'm not saying Kemp's perfect. Not. What I'm saying is that he's a better parent than the state. I believe he's a better parent than the mom. It's just my own personal opinion. It's not a fact. Look, what we did in law would stop any judge on any case I have ever done before. That I've ever helped someone with before. I've never given anybody legal advice, but I just talk about law. Because that's what I like to do. Because when you lose law in a society, it gets bad. It's not going to be a society you wish to live in. And we've already lost it. It's already gone. Don Ash just verified for you that we have lost it. And I had a really good friend, and when COVID hit, he was like, "What, you mean the flu?" And I was like, "I don't think you get it. When society goes crazy around you, it doesn't matter if you're the one who gets sick or not. Society's gonna go crazy around you. Now, The difference between COVID and what's going on in the courts is that you can actually make a difference in the courts. If you, the public, don't get on board with this conspiracy to make a better world and start calling down to the Supreme Court, to the Washington County Sheriff's Office, to the Washington Chancellery Court clerk, if you don't start bugging these people, going down there and figuring out why Kemp was unlawfully arrested, had his day in court, all of the facts upon the record said he should have had his children, and why are you locking him up for telling his children he loves them anyways? If you don't do that, pick a number. It's going to happen to you. If it hasn't happened to you yet, it's going to. If you don't stop them. I've been at this for a long time. I said the same thing over 3 years ago. There's no law anymore. That's the whole reason I really quit working with people kind of one-on-one. So that I could teach you. And real law is not that hard. It's not that complicated. It's not that confusing. It's just simply right and wrong. If you think what they did, you know what? Not if you think. Let me just put it to you this way. Okay? You don't have to be a legal scholar to see what just happened is not in the best interest of the children. You don't have to be an attorney to see what happened is not in the best interest of the children. You don't have to be a psychologist to see what happened is not in the best interest of the children. All you have to do is have a conscience. You could be an absolute moron. And as long as you had a conscience, you would know what just happened there was incredibly wrong. And if you're going to listen to the judge because he's a judge, and you're not going to listen to the creator who places law on your heart, you're going to get the God you deserve. This is way longer than I thought it would be. I've shown you all of the legal documents. If you go through my channel, I really put it together for people, even historically, how it came about. I'm telling you right now, there is no law in this land at all. And if you don't wish to live in a lawless society, you better do something. Something. We are just conspiracy, and we just wish to conspire to get Kemp out of jail right now for being wrongfully arrested and kidnapped by the state. Have his children ripped away from him. Try and find Delilah, because nobody will still tell her mom where she is. All they'll tell her is that she's with the child molester. Get Mimi Epstein, her daughter, back. The daughter that was taken away from a doctor, somebody who has a doctorate degree, a medical doctorate degree, because she wasn't wearing a mask. I don't know how obvious it has to get for you. But until they kill us, we are just conspiracy, and we wish to build a world of the living and bring heaven to earth. One world, love, and peace. Please stick around for a minute. My apologies about the sound quality and the lack of video presentation. I am having for real problems with my computer and I can't fix them right now due to financial circumstances. Anyways, I'm going to play a federal judge talk about the separation of powers and how judicial officers had lifetime tenure and a salary secured. And this is basically so that they could uphold the law and not feel threatened with their livelihood, so that they could denounce the legislature and executive branch. Anyways, from how I interpret what she's saying, it's a good clip to show that education into administration is what changed that. I hope you enjoy.
We start off, as we always must, with the framework of the Constitution. Article 1 commits all of the legislative power to the Congress, who are the people's representatives and tied to the people. Article 2 represents the president, who makes a commitment to take care that the laws shall be faithfully executed. So it is his job to apply the law and enforce the law through organs such as the Department of Justice. And finally, Article 3 is the independent judiciary, blessed with life tenure, which of course I didn't favor until I became a federal judge, and salary protection, so that we have the power of will and not judgment to say what the law is independently. However, you will see how effective those protections are. What was the purpose of the tripartite division of government, the separation of powers? As Dr. Arnn pointed out, it was to preserve individual liberty within a framework of law. There were 500 years of English history leading up to the American Revolution, during which Parliament or the Lords or whoever struggled to rein in the king's exercise of unilateral and unchecked power. The royal power was often exercised through crown courts and councils, a principle universally recognized as vital to the integrity and maintenance of the system of government ordained by the Constitution. What happened to this universal consensus? Well, as you know, the late 19th century posed a number of social and political challenges to the country. There was the rise of big business, mass migrations to the cities during the industrial age. There were social tensions and upheaval. But just as important, an intellectual challenge arose to the foundations of constitutionalism. Scholars like then Professor Woodrow Wilson had become enamored of the German ideas about progress, sovereignty, and government social responsibility. The Germanic system elevated social welfare above individual liberty, and it placed at that time what they said was a scientific, efficient brand of government management over government of the people and by the people. Honest, independent, expert administrators, the argument went, would rise above politics and pursue the best interests of the people. The progressive movement, which influenced both political parties at the turn of the last century, was heavily influenced by these people and these ideas.